The YouTube video?
No, the live button.
Oh, I just found it. Hey, how's it going, man? Yeah, we just did that off
All
camera,
right,
off
yeah,
air.
we did. Sorry, threw
We
me
did.
off.
It's not even real yet.
Not
So
even
I'm gonna
real.
go ahead and um I'm gonna go ahead and take the I'm gonna put it on
All the stuffs.
Daddy.
Yeah, so we've got the Discord going. Had some hopping going on in there lately. My buddy Nick, who's been on my show a few times, will be on again tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. It's only Tuesday, right? Thursday.
Yeah.
Nick Mueller doing Demon Hunter Raven.
Good stuff.
Already funded. His third campaign's already funded, and he's going to be on the show. But he just joined the Discord. So you know what? Actually, hang on a second.
I like it. So I follow some of his stuff on Webtoons. I like it.
Crazy.
I like it a lot.
Let me see here. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. So if people want to join our Discord and check out all this stuff, we're still building the server. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of the admin, and that's terrifying because I don't know from nothing.
Yeah, I started playing around with the Discord thing to try and do like some tabletop stuff on it, and I'm like, it's confusing.
Well, and like the guy who helped us with our who kind of gave us the bones for the most recent version of our website, Steve. He's in our Discord group. We're talking about doing some different change up stuff, and I've got an artist who's working with me on. His name's Seven. Well, that's not his name.
A funny name.
Yeah, it's not really. But anyway, Seven is had made some suggestions about laying out the format in a certain way to talk about using the Discord as a good marketing for the current campaign we're working on.
Right.
I'd set up like a microblog corner, which would be super simple to do.
Nice.
Theoretically, just gotta learn how to do it.
Right.
Ooh.
Sorry, that's some traffic.
That's okay. So yeah, that's what that's all about. But
that'd be kind of neat. I like that idea.
Wait a second. Okay. So I'm gonna share out the video link here.
I did share on Twitter and my Facebook already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna be right back real quick.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just make it up as I go. So. Everybody, not the best television ever. Yeah. So that's man. I don't really have a whole lot going on. I've been, like I said, we've got the Discord working on. I've been updating Forces of Good and Evil. Getting the colors on that one. Whoo, doggy. I love how that's coming along. I've got actually this week's update over there on Webtoons is going to be pretty big pretty big. It's going to be last week was about 6 pages from the Waiting for Mole story. The next update's going to be like 12, just because of where I want it to fit in with the beats of the story. I've got about 6 pages with the Go-Go's, which are Greg's nemesis in villain school, and I didn't want to just have their story takes up a few pages setting up, but it kind of leaves you hanging too, so I don't want to just leave that there. So I'm getting a couple pages with Greg and Tattoo on the bottom of that, so it's going to be like a 12-page scroll.
Very nice.
Thing, but that's okay. It's a long. That's the Waiting for Moles is kind of a long story, and it's going to be longer than we have right there. I'm going to have to do some original art for this one because we've got there's some stories in there where we have way too many words on a page, and we're going to need to spread them out and break it up into 2 or 3 pages. So, secret project, 6 or whatever.
I want a secret project.
Oh.
I got a couple ideas floating around. Like that Wizard the dog.
Wizard the dog?
Wizard, yeah. I drew a sketch of him not that long ago.
I don't seem to remember that one. Where's my coffee?
Yeah. Gotta have the coffee.
Yeah. Oh, I said over there. I'll get it in a second.
I went for beer tonight instead of coffee.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
It's a Leinenkugel.
I guess I'm not that jealous.
But it's a creamy dog.
No, it's a fine one. Leinenkugel is fine. Which variety is it?
That's the creamy dark.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I agree. Trying to find my sketchbook. Because that's where I drew my rough sketch of Wizard the dog. Yeah. He's down there. Wizard the dog. I want to make some fun stories with that dog. Can't remember when I drew that. It was a few months ago. I wish I could draw things out of my head. That's my problem with drawing. I could draw good if I'm looking at something, but coming up with it out of my head, it's not so good. We did have some mishaps on our first few pages of the new Z-Bytes.
Oh, yeah?
Some file formatting got lost somehow, and so she's recovering that, but she is working. It is progressing.
Well, that's frustrating.
Yeah, she was not very happy about it. But I'm just glad to see some progress happening on issue 2 finally.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm not leaving.
Oh, that's fine. I've got Seven's asking about the geographic location for a thing, so I was looking it up for him.
Cool.
So.
Well, I didn't think you were just ignoring me.
So I've let me see here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share of the thing here. So you can check it out.
Check.
Application window. Here we go. And this is actually of our Discord server, and it's some sketches that Seven did of some of our characters that are going to be showing up in the. It's called Homeport, and excuse me, and this is Clamzo. He is a subaquatic protector of Kingston, Michigan, which is in our case is a fictional city in the UP. And there's Mark Question, paranormal detective.
I like him.
So, yeah.
It's
Our
impressive.
villain is Black Magus. So yeah, it's going to start with being a short, like 12-page story, and depending on how it works, if we can get enough kind of attention and enough heat on it, then
they will move forward.
We'll go from there. And hey, this is Michigan, so there you go.
I'm supposed to have some family from there, but I've never met them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's actually where my grandparents came from. So,
All right. Cool.
I really need to get into gear and working on some stuff, that's for sure. It's been crazy busy lately again.
Well, that's fascinating. Okay.
Keep zoning out, Reese.
What?
You keep zoning out, man.
Oh, sorry. I'm just like paying attention to lots of stuff, man. There's lots of things to know and learn.
So much. Too many things.
Yeah, there's apparently there are too many things. Well, I'm used to having a third person here, so I can kind of do some of this background stuff and get some work done while we're doing the thing. And
right.
Somebody had to work overtime. We're not going to name names, but he's bald.
Wouldn't want to mention any names, Barry.
So I'm actually gonna
just invite everybody.
I did. I put it on the Discord. I don't know if anyone's checked it out, to the Discord yet. Not getting any replies on there.
Let's just start adding random people. That could be interesting.
So, I don't know. People could be busy doing other things, or who knows what.
Yeah.
Because they don't talk to anybody ahead of time.
Last minute.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I know, like, Matt Johnson's talking about coming by because he wants to try out the screen share feature.
Okay.
So he can get the hang of it for our show coming up here. So, like, that's because he's going to be on. Because on Thursday, right, on my show, I'm having Doug Tenable and Tonic Mole and Nick Mueller and Matt Johnson and me. And we're going to be talking about regional comics, right? Writing comics with geography and culture in mind, right? Doug's done a ton of stuff. It's based in Turlock, that's near his hometown, part of his home community, Turlock, California. Nick writes about Minneapolis, Matt Johnson writes about Lincoln in Omaha, where he's lived almost half his life now. He's actually originally from Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, but he moved to Nebraska in his late teens, and he came down this way for college, I guess, and then stayed, and then his family moved. So just trying to get out of Michigan, I guess.
Right.
We actually have a lot of people that have been down this way from Michigan, right? Like I don't know if you run into a lot of them, but we've run into
Chris.
there was a critter crawling on your back, Chris.
It happens. It happens. I try to stop it.
He just had to ruin the fun. He told me that I'm not allowed to be a part of your guys' show because I'm not nerdy
I
enough.
heard to say that. I told her she could get on another thing and get on the show.
Yeah, she absolutely could.
He said that I'm not nerdy enough for you guys.
I'm sure he didn't. Anyway, what am I talking about? I a number of years ago I was meeting all these people from Michigan, right, and down here in Scottsbluff, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And it was actually pretty stupid. It was pretty obvious, I should say. The LaGrange Bible College down there, Frontier School of the Bible. Like one of the guys that was a founder or whatever, his family was originally from Michigan, so there was a lot of crossover in those communities, and so a bunch of Michiganders would send their kids out to Bible college in Wyoming, and because there's nothing in LaGrange, they ended up being part of Scottsbluff, the community here in the Panhandle, right?
Right.
And some of them stayed. So not all of them, or even most of them, but some of them stayed. So enough that there's this like population of dispossessed Michiganders that roam around Scottsbluff bumping into things.
Right. Why are you all here?
But yeah, that was sort of funny. But anyway,
we have a lot of people from California too, for some reason.
We do. We have a lot of people from California. Mm-hmm. I saw on Twitter. I don't know where it came from, but there was this map from it was a map of the lower 48, and it said who hates who, and it was this color-coded map that had like the 50 states in the bottom. It may have been all 50, maybe just the lower 48, and their color code, right? And then each of the states were colored according to what state they hated the most. So like most of the map was blue, and blue was the color assigned to California. But California hates Texas. So, and it said that Nebraska hates Iowa. And I'm like, I think more of us hate Colorado than hate Iowa, but maybe that's panhandle bias.
Maybe. I mean, I completely agree.
And actually, the other side of it, it's not really fair. I don't hate Colorado. I just want them to stay away.
I mean, that's true.
I gotta disappear for just a second. I'll be right back.
Come back. I guess I left you once, so. I can't be cool and talk about cool announcements coming like he does. I don't have any. Besides, Z-Bytes is getting worked on, and we will get another issue out.
Can you give me the pictures? I couldn't see. That's okay.
Just got a notification that someone's watching my show. Oh, hello. Reese was saying somebody might be stopping in later to check some of this out. Now I'm the only one in the show. We are still live. We are still going. I'm not sure what happened to Reese. I'm sure he'll be back. It does show he completely left our show, but I'm sure he'll be back. The people that are watching should comment some questions they may have, or maybe some favorite comic book things, and we could discuss that. Maybe even video games. I'm open.
Okay, am I back?
I lost you completely for a minute.
My computer
Oh, so now I'm invited
down.
because
It was super frustrating.
whatever.
You're kind of quiet.
Why?
Quiet. You're kind of quiet.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Let me turn the mic up, see if that helps.
I don't.
How about that? Man, make sure I'm using the right mic too. Yeah, it says it's the right one. Automatically adjust mic volume. I'm going to turn that off. Can you hear me okay? How's that? Checky, check. Or did the whole world just freeze? Hey, you two, the people out there, are you hearing? Are you seeing? No? Who knows? Who knows what goes on? I sure don't. Yeah, doop, 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 doop. I seem to be the only one here. Okay. So I don't know if Chris will make it back or not. Who knows? But while he is gone, I'm going to take the opportunity to share with you guys some of the Z-Byte stuff we are working on. So bear with me while I pull it up here. So we are reformatting and relettering the first issue. And it's going to take a while to get through all of that just because I'm doing it in between other projects that I'm working on and all that kind of stuff. The Forces is going up weekly, and I'm really serious about wanting to get that worked on. Plus, I have a real life that's not just the comics. Although I do love the comics, but we're going to go ahead and show off the new pages, and I will also show you guys the original layouts too. So give me just a second, and I'll show you what I have done so far. And who knows? Maybe Chris can come back. Hey, Metal, how's it going, man? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Chris vanished, and I'm not sure. Not sure what happened to him. Erg. This might be him texting. Oh no, it's just Draw and Talk going live right now. Who knows, man? Okay. Pardon me. I am checking the thing. I know this is definitely not the best television ever. I am under prepared. So give me just a moment. I'll try to rectify that very briefly. Z-Bites, for those of you who don't know, is a zombie action comedy. Which is takes place within the continuity, the Ideal Comics continuity. It didn't used to, but he's bringing it over, so we're very happy about that. I love building the world out. So, okay. Oh, hey, Chris is back.
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. My internet just crashed.
Yeah, that's okay, man. That's okay.
I'm back.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Oh, Metal, if you would like to jump in, you are welcome to. I don't need you to, but if you want to come on, feel free, man.
Reese keeps zoning out. We need you.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, I was getting ready to do a screen share to go over the first 4 pages of Z-Bites.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I wanted to show the originals, and I wanted to show what I'm doing with the edits.
Good time for me to come back.
So yeah, that was a part of the big bit. Hey, it looks like Matt Johnson has arrived.
Oh, hi. Are we chatting?
We are chatting. We are live, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
We're just throwing it up, man. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Got lots of different things going on, but wanted to make sure this I'm glad we have a chance to see if this works before going live, because it took me about 20 minutes just to get it working on my end.
Yeah. Well, and here's the one thing is that I might be using this platform or I might use Restream on Thursday. It just depends.
Okay.
But the interface is very similar either way. So
okay. Have you ever used OBS?
I have not. I mean, I've done a little bit with it, but I've never been really successful with figuring it out.
Okay.
I thought I had it all figured out, and I've done a little bit of recording of like live streams and stuff. But the last time I did it, it only recorded the audio.
Yeah.
Which I was recording a staff meeting at my day job for one of my workers who couldn't make it, and it was like a virtual staff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But it worked out okay because all we needed was the audio.
Okay.
But that's all I got. So I told her, I was like, okay, you're going to get, 45 minutes of looking at me, look at the screen, but that's what the video is. And she's like, okay, no big deal. And it was only the audio. So I was like, I don't even know, man. That's crazy. But
all right. You want to see if this works? I'm playing with buttons here.
yeah, I think on mine, there's the share screen button is at the bottom of my screen.
All right. Yeah, well, I was just playing with OBS at the office, and it seems to work okay. I just don't know how to plug for video from anyone else in, like remotely. I can, but I can manage multiple sources of video and pictures and screens and things, it was really easy. It was very plug and play. So
Very cool.
let's see. I'll share screen. And it's easiest with 2 monitors. I'll bear that in mind next time. I'll bring a. All right. Oh, there we are. And
it should.
let's see. There we go. Application window. Perfect. So I can share my presentation over here.
There it is.
And now I don't see you, but I see me, or I see my screen. So, now can you still see me on your end?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I think. All right. And I can, oh, good. I can go back here and I can see you. Can't do any of the control. I have to tab back and forth. So now I can see my different slides here. all my real life locations. I've been collecting a lot of these.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun to look at these side by side. This isn't even the source picture I originally used. I just happened to get it at the same angle. Places I used to work and our beautiful phallic Capitol building. Yeah. Oh. And yeah, it looks like it's I'm using this through the Google Slide app. So
Okay.
it looks like it's some of these it has to load a little bit, but I'm assuming it's all coming through okay on your end.
That's going
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
quick.
everything looks great over here.
Oh, perfect. And I'll hopefully have interesting things to say over some of these.
Awesome.
Oh. That's one thing about my comic is that whenever I don't have an idea, I just kind of look around me and there are things to write about, to draw about.
It's a good skill.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah, I love Matt's comic. I'm not unapologetically. It's great. I'm a huge fan.
I'm not sure I've checked it out.
Yeah. Well, he's actually got two, Cortland and Out at 5. But if you're interested, I actually did a 2-part interview with Matt way back in 2014 on our Deal Comics blog, and it's been reposted to the website now, so you can go actually check out the interview.
That was all in print
Oh man, yeah,
before we did live streaming.
yeah, that was all. It was all print. It was like before I had a show. Even.
Nice.
But it's got links to specific Cortland strips and all kinds of stuff. So
I think, yeah, there's one thing I was going to talk about here. This little town of Galton, Nebraska, in my comic is I don't know how obvious it is, but it's based on the location where Keenspot is apparently headquartered now.
right.
Back in the day, they moved out to Cresbard, South Dakota. So naturally, Keenspot has a role in my comic in a couple different places. So I thought what's great about the internet nowadays is I don't have to drive a couple hundred miles to go there and get visuals. I can just go to Google Street View and see at least a couple streets in that town, including this is the old public school that they bought and used as their headquarters, apparently.
Wow.
So I put the whole building in my comic. And I don't know how many people even picked up on things like that. It's just a matter of my wanting to be, I don't know. It's when you're getting inspiration from something real, it's fun to be able to pull the real visuals from real life and drop them into your comic. And I don't have to travel to New York City to put a character there and like get an actual view of Times Square or Stanford University, where some of my characters, I don't think I even mentioned in my comic that's where this was. But back in 2005, Steve Jobs gave a commencement address there. So I kind of used that as a springboard for a couple comics. And I thought, well, why not have him at Stanford University, use the real buildings, use the real campus. Someone used Google Street View on a bicycle or something. It just went all throughout the whole campus, getting shots of every building, I think. Oh, and now recursively, looks like it's still showing the screen there.
I can remove it.
But
I
think I could do that.
So,
can I do that too? I think I can stop. Yeah, you can do it. I can do it. We're good.
Yep. So, for the record, people of the internet, whoever's happens to be watching, that was a preview of this Thursday show. Matt's coming on. We've got hello, Chris, in the chat, but Matt's coming back. We've got Nick Mueller is coming on. Doug Tenaple is coming on, and Tonic Mole is going to be talking about the theme too. which is regional comics. Very
Oh.
excited.
Well, that sounds
I didn't
fun.
realize we were doing it. Is this an actual show?
Yeah, yeah. We're
Yeah.
really, really
Well,
live.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
I
would
did-
have worn pants in that case if I known.
None of us do. It's fine.
Hey, I always wear pants. I get cold otherwise.
I wear shorts.
So
Good deal. Well, I will be seeing you guys on Thursday. Then looks like everything works okay.
yeah, looks like it, man.
So
So
we'll at least know the ins and outs. So we'll see you guys then.
sweet, man. We'll catch you then.
All right.
Later. So how you been, Metal?
I've been all right.
So I was just getting ready to show off the first 4 pages of Z-Bytes in their original form because I've gotten the first 4 pages reformatted into the new format for the regular comic size. Because when they were originally done, they weren't sized for a comic. So here's, and they're just a little squatty, and so they printed a little funny.
They were
Coming
sized for
through the
my
thing.
comic.
That's the first page, second page here. And
See, this is why I just size everything for print, even if I'm putting it on the web.
yeah. Well, and that's actually anyway, there's a whole story there. I don't
Yeah,
want
I
to get
didn't
into that.
size
But
any of that or anything. It wasn't.
yeah, it was not to throw shade. It was, it was all the artists, but it actually is not terrible. It just happens to not quite have the right ratios. And the files, the original files are enormous.
Yeah.
They're like 12 inches by 14 inches. I mean, they're huge files. So I shrunk them down to the print area down to 6.5. So I mean, which
That's
is a
not
standard
enormous.
comic size. And I mean, we're not losing any clarity or anything out of it. So, but let me show you what that looks like here. So we'll remove this and we will share. Share screen 2.
And see Reese's magic.
There we go. So I'll zoom in too, because you can't quite get the same because it's got the whole border on it. Because like these are still Clip Studio files. I wanted to keep that way so we can edit the text live as opposed to having to like change what we change on it. Because I have done some relettering too. So the letters are going to be more uniform size wise, all that kind of stuff. But we'll zoom in here. So I pulled and separated these ones on this page, the panels apart, and that's pretty much all the difference there. Filled in some of the backgrounds so they bleed together right. I'm pretty tickled with how well that turned out there.
Yeah, they look nice. I like
Yeah.
the way they're coming out.
Yeah, this one here I gotta say was particularly challenging. Not particularly, but I ended up filling in some of the art because these had clipped over each other.
Right.
So this got brought down. The television's panel got brought down, panel 2. Panel 1 had a notch cut out of it because it had nestled into panel 3. Those got pulled apart. And I also made the caption box down here in panel 5 smaller because it was much larger for the sake of the size of the lettering in there. So that was one thing that I added. And I think it did a pretty good job of bleeding those edges where you can't even really tell what got changed.
Right.
So now tell me if I'm wrong. Of course, I can. We've got all the layers, so we can go back and tweak stuff if we need to. But this was another one of those where they were folded over each other, and I had it went ahead and finished out because it had cut off right here, and I went ahead and traipsed that down. And here's one thing about this panel here, Chris, specifically panel 1 on this page, the bottom edge of it, this tattered effect here was accidental,
Oh,
right? Because of how it was working under the different layers when I colored it.
Right.
That wasn't totally intentional. And when I changed the layers around, that's just what it looked like. And I was like, I'm leaving it.
I like that though.
So I was real happy with how that looked down that one.
Issue 2's art will take a drastic change.
Right. Well, it will, of course. I mean, different artist. I think honestly, with some of the different tone that we have going on with where we are with issue 2, I think that don't think it'll be too jarring either.
All
So,
right.
but now this one was the one that I was the most like not necessarily 100% on, because there was just 3 panels on the page. And so it left us, if we left the top where it was and the bottom kind of where it was and added that right into the middle, it left with this big gap here.
Gotta move like that one up a little, maybe.
Well, the other thing I was thinking of is we can definitely take this panel and slide it up.
That's what
a
I
little.
was thinking.
But I think what also I was wanting to talk to you at some point too about maybe adding some more dialogue, since we have this extra room. You could actually have a little more talking involved here too, without it being out of place.
Right.
So, but I didn't want to just write a bunch of stuff and throw it in there. I wanted to talk to you about it first. But I think the general or whoever the military dude is,
Captain or Sergeant Painkiller.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know all your characters'
That's
names.
his nickname, all right.
Remember how I was talking about the Bible? Anyway.
I'm working on it.
Anyway,
if 2 words a day counts.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'm not just come to just be irritating, but
I need it sometimes. I need that push.
But yeah, like I was saying though, I think some of that would have, I think a good place to do a little bit of expositional dialogue right there, would make a lot of sense, and then we have the room to exploit that way.
Did you use that
but I
word
didn't want to
because
just
of the character.
I didn't want to just take over your project,
No, definitely not. You asked me enough. You don't just take over.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. That's why I'm showing you all this stuff and all the other people out there in the world too. Yeah. So, and I'm telling you guys, I don't mean to, this is not throwing shade at the original piece. I invited Chris on because I think Z-Bytes is a fun property, and I think the original work that was done is good. But since we need to make it a uniform size so it looks great printed anyway, I think our next version is just going to be really something. So that Ideal Comics printing, the official printing of issue 1, is going to be something special.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
But that might just be me as the editor, and get my little editor fingers on it.
And grubby little editor fingers.
I can't
at least
help
wash
it.
your hands first.
Well, probably.
He's like, they're just zombies. They won't mind.
They're just zombies. They won't mind. Yeah. So what I'll probably do, if it's cool with you, Chris, I mean, and maybe this is going too far on it, but on the pages that I think need a little more dialogue, maybe what I'll do is I'll write up a script for that page, or a dialogue script, and send that over to you.
Okay.
So
I can play editor.
Well, I mean, it's your story, right? So,
right.
If I'm saying, well, if we tweak this here, then you can go ahead and see if you like those changes or not, or if you're like, dude, Sergeant Painkiller doesn't sound like that. You made him sound like a candy ass.
That's okay. He's not in the military.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
They're not my characters. I don't necessarily know all of them.
No, I do. I did create them all.
I do know that I'm anxious to hear more what the zookeeper has to say. I will say that much. She intrigues me.
She's an interesting character.
Yes. So, but yeah, that enforces is what I've been at this weekend. So, or the last week, and I only got the 4 pages worked on. So, also, I don't think, let's see. Oh, I redid this word balloon here. But mostly I didn't have to change any of the balloons, I don't think. But yeah, this Clip Studio program, Chris, let me tell you, oh my goodness, like it's awesome. And actually, I gotta say, here's the crazy thing: like the first 2 pages, or the first page and the interior front cover, I was tweaking on my Paint Shop Pro program, and it was being really fidgety because it's got a really good clone tool. But during the course of this last weekend while I was working on this, I learned how to do a lot of the same things I was doing in Paint Shop Pro that I didn't know how to do in Clip Studio in Clip Studio.
Awesome.
So I was able to just do one program, was working a lot smoother, and I was already lettering in it. So it's good stuff. It was a lot quick. I mean, it wasn't a lot quicker, but it was quicker.
Nice.
But yeah, making the hardest, the most like labor intensive, like detail stuff actually wasn't the few places I had to tweak the art itself. It was that background, because it looks random, but it's really not. Right?
Like
So-
much. Isn't that
So
the point?
to you can't just like take the clone tool or copy and paste it exactly. You got to tweak it so it looks like it fits really well. And that was the most time consuming part of those pages. So once you add the space between the panels, you're like, okay, how do I make it fit like I need it to?
Right. I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy it. So, but no, I just think it does. You were talking last week. I showed you one of the pages in process, and you're like, it looks a lot cleaner. And part of that is just because there was in the original orientation, there was a little bit of cluttering because the format was a little lower. And so this actually pulls those panels apart and gives them some more distinction. The other fun thing about that is by increasing the gutter space. Now, if anybody watched my show last week on the matriarchy, you're going to make fun of me because I was making fun of Scott McCloud and his gutter speech in Understanding Comics. So mock me mercilessly. I don't care. Anyway,
ha 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 ha.
There you go, Mental. There you go. But the increasing gutter space actually gives you a little more somberness. It doesn't push you through the story as quickly. So I think that's actually going to help with, especially as lumbering as the first issue is, where like the action hasn't started yet. It's just all that tension building up.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Gutters
so I
control
think-
pacing.
Yeah, they do. I don't think it was worth an entire chapter's discussion of it, but
It could be though. Right? Some people just don't click to it as fast, and maybe they need
maybe
it
that's
drilled
part of
into
it.
them a bit more. You
Well,
know,
And that's
like,
like,
it should just be like, hey, if you get it by this page, just skip to the next chapter. You should just have something like that in there.
well, and here's one of the things we actually were talking about at the thing is on the show is they were talking about like not everybody can just read a comic, right?
Yeah.
Like because there's a certain language that goes into them, and I'm like, kind of, but just you pick it up and you read it, and there are ones that are better, but I mean anybody who can read a sentence can read a comic,
Yeah. I think talking about classic literature, Dr. Seuss is actually a really good example for translating how to read a comic, because the way he wrote his poetry kind of forces you to read it at a certain pace and rhythm, because he
Yeah.
wrote meter and he controlled which meter he wrote in. And yeah, if you can't read English and it hasn't been translated, and it's really hard to translate meter properly into another language, not everybody can read Dr. Seuss. But if you read the language that it's written in, you should be able to read the story the way intended.
And one thing too, if you look at like Shakespeare, right? It's all iambic pentameter, and so a lot of people get overwhelmed with the rigid meter of Shakespeare when trying to perform it, right? But
Yeah.
if you just let it speak, you calm down and you just do it, like most performers still recite it in iambic pentameter because it matches the cadence of speech, right?
Well, so for a performer, that's not a problem.
Well, because a lot, like
And
a
for
lot of
most
people don't
people,
even
it's not a
notice it.
problem either. It's in school, because a lot of those words aren't even said the same way that they're said now, too. And if you're reading it with the idea of the iambic pentameter, where every other spot it tells you where the stress is supposed to be, you should be able to tell how that word was supposed to be said. Like back then, again is how you actually said what we say again now. We've kind of got lazy with the pronunciation of that word.
No, it's
anytime
Americanized.
So anytime you hear the word again, it was supposed to be again, over and over again. And the pentameter will actually tell you how it's supposed to be said. But if you don't know, like, it's not flowing. What am I doing wrong?
Everything.
Yeah.
Virtually everything. Well, and actually that's one of the fun things about the American dialect is it's not just laziness, right? But it's that America was populated by rednecks.
Yeah.
So we're the backwoods folk of the British Isles.
Yeah. But at the same time, there were a lot of noble people there too, like most or close to noble, right? Most of the
Right.
people that ended up leading the charge were the richer, well-off people that came over here.
Well, and the thing is,
it-
within 100 years of the first population, like I don't want to say everybody, but the large majority of the super dirt poor people that came over weren't super dirt poor anymore.
Oh, yeah.
The burgeoning free market and lack of oversight from Britain had allowed the colonies to become ridiculously wealthy by comparison to your average Englishman.
I wouldn't say lazy though. I think simplicity has a lot more to do with the language,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because if you look back then, and even somewhat now, most historians will say, or linguistics that look into it, we actually speak closer to how Shakespeare spoke and the average person than modern Britain does.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Less of-
But there's a
of the-
simplicity to our language, right? So anything that would get drawn out. So we'll look at again. It takes more effort to say again. So we're not going to say it's lazy, but it's simpler to just say it faster as again. And it speeds up the dialect because America is a very fast-paced place compared to other countries. Always has been.
Oh yes, and the beauty of that whole thing is, the American paradigm really has been work hard, play hard, know, and that's why you talk about laziness. I don't think it's just that, there's more in play.
Lazy, I think it was the wrong term to use, even though in some aspects you could use it there. Efficiency could be a better one too, where it's like we're going to put more effort in now to put in less effort later.
And I think that there is something like even you look at like what Noah Webster was doing with the dictionary and taking out all those extra letters. Efficiency was the key to his philosophy of spelling, right?
Yeah.
Now, I kind of think he made a mistake, right? Because part of the reason for the extra letters was because they were loan words, and those loan words have a history that matters, right? So when you would kind of start extracting some of that history from some of your words, then I think it allows words to mutate. This is just a theory of mine, and I'm not going to go get the master's degree to prove I'm right here, right? So, but part of my theory, my idea, my concept is that by taking some of the history out of our words, we allow them open to mutate more than they would before, right?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good logic to follow there, because like anything else, memes, which language is just mimetic, evolve quite like genes do, and anything that does evolve entropically in the universe follows a path of least resistance unless acted upon by another force. So simplicity, losing letters, allowing things to mutate, this type of least resistance is the natural evolution of language over time. And then obviously there are other cultural forces that'll push onto it that change them in different directions, but they're all going to follow what resists it the least.
And then the problem that I see, and it comes into some of that, is then there are beauties of complexities that are lost.
Yeah.
Right. Where we just don't, like, whole concepts that we don't even have in the modern world, right? And some of these concepts are like for example, like, we don't have a formal tense in English anymore. We used to, right? But we don't have it anymore. And so when people like look at, like, the Shakespearean language or King James English and the these and thous, thee and thou are formal address. You and your are informal address. And ye, the word ye is second person plural, where we don't even have second person plural in modern English.
Have second person in modern English.
Oh yeah, we have you.
We have it. I'm just saying we barely have it.
Well, you barely you don't have. I'm going to use it. You don't have a lot of use to use it.
I mean, nowadays kids just talking abbreviations. They don't use words.
That also is a big factor. But with like, we've had in
I agree with Chris down here. We're all going to revert back to just grunting.
Yeah, that may happen.
So I think we're losing complexity in form, but not in totality. Because I think part of the following the path of least resistance is also the budding of branches as well, which makes everything ultimately more complex. But that's not always a good thing. So like we have more words that mean specific things than we've ever had before because we have more specific things to talk about and describe, but we're losing a lot of the inherent poetic, metaphorical, and all these other figurative meanings to things. Whereas previously you could actually even use, say, one word to describe maybe 6 different things, and everybody knew what you were talking about in the case because of the context around it, the intonation of speech, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
but at the same time, we utterly lose the words, meanings of important words like Nazi.
Yeah.
And we,
but I don't think that follows the path of least resistance.
Yeah,
that's an outside force. And it's not the mimetic path of least resistance, it's the genetic one that allows it to happen.
Well, now let's not go on talking about Nazis and genes. This isn't that kind of show.
I was just talking about the human capacity for it, not the ideas themselves.
You're right.
Yeah.
I figured you did.
Yeah.
There's the
doesn't come well from somebody with blonde hair and blue eyes saying it.
Right. But the application of, well, you're almost an albino. That's not even hardly a thing. But no, the idea, what I was picking up from what you were really saying, aside from my joke, was that this is a parallelism to the form versus function, or the what's the other? There's another.
This is Plato versus Aristotle at the end of the day.
Yeah, kind of. Well, kind of. Yeah. The great forms, but that's a whole.
Yeah.
That's a that's a whole different concept.
A lot of modern societies, like tribulations between, I wanted to say size, but between like the natural tendencies of people, a lot of times it boils down to Plato versus Aristotle, because some people kind of just naturally incline more towards the way that Plato saw things, and some people naturally incline more towards the way that Aristotle sees them. And that's even somewhat of the left-right dynamic that we improperly place on things.
Well, and I think a lot of that, I firmly believe, and I don't want to necessarily get onto that in this show.
Yeah.
I have you on my Thursday show to talk about this.
Maybe.
But that it would be I think people profoundly misunderstand the left-right paradigm, like in its entirety. And it's very simple. It's very straightforward. And I've had Matt Krotz on, and it was Matt Krotz and Star Storyteller back in 19. And I laid out my case for those guys, but I'm pretty sure that's ancient matriarchy history at this point. So, but yeah, I really think people misunderstand those ideas like in their entirety. And I think I have the key, and it's pretty straightforward and simple. And I haven't met anybody who can effectively argue with me about it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into it.
Maybe we can help refine it.
Yeah.
But that's usually that's dialectic as opposed to debate, right? It's like even if you both agree on something, sometimes you have to start taking the devil's advocacy to steelman your position and then refine it even further because you might be missing some parts to it. Yeah,
right. And the big thing about it. Well, I don't want to get into it here, but anyway, but I think the one thing I do want to was we're talking about too is I'm reading a book. And it's about the evolutionary. Well, this one particular chapter is about the evolutionary processes and the ideas that go into all that kind of thing, and the history of evolutionary thinking. And the author, and this is the craziest thing to me, the author holds up universalism, and on the side of universalism, which of course is the idea that there is no change.
Yeah.
To bolster the historical way he's describing universalism, he brings up the Aristotelian forms, right? and then says, but we know that we can't have any Aristotelian forms because we have genetic drift and change. And I'm like, that doesn't even begin to make any sense. Because the idea of Aristotelian form implies that there's change from the ideal cow, right? Whatever a cow is, there has to be derivation from cow for there to be an ideal form, or otherwise every cow would be the ideal form.
Aristotle didn't even believe in the form itself. It was Plato who took it to the extreme from him.
Well, right. The whole idea is like
he was actually trying to dismiss it in his argument.
Right, but the whole idea of the form, right, really is this is how we learn, right?
Yeah.
It's like we believe that there exists a concept that we are capable of understanding that allows us to interpret the physical world, so that everybody knows what a cow is, even though nobody's cows look the same.
Yeah,
right?
Or I think the better example is the chair. Right? There is this Platonic form of a chair that is the perfect chair, but this perfect chair doesn't actually exist. It's the metric in your brain of deciding whether something is or isn't a chair. So we all have chairs. All of our chairs are different. I'm sitting on a metal folding chair right now, and it is not the ideal chair. There are things off about it that could be whatever the ideal is, but from looking at it, I know this thing is a chair.
Right. and so like the whole thing to me, I was just like, they're not even getting you're not proving your argument at all.
Well, that's also the problem of ever invoking Aristotelian forms, because Aristotle was trying to basically use it to dismiss the idea of ideals, right? It's like, yes, you have ideals, but they don't actually exist. They're this invisible metric that you judge the world by. Right. And that's why he always said, like, you can still have them, but you should actually work in the world from a pragmatic foundation of the ground, not where the ideals are. Right. So Then Plato comes along and he's like, I like the idea of these forms. I think these ideals almost not physically, but in like a very real, tangible way exists on a higher plane.
Mhm.
So none of your chairs are perfect because there is a perfect chair out there. We just won't reach it. Like, you've got some really good ideas. I like your philosophy in some ways, but you're also freaking nuts in others.
Well, I mean, and it really comes down to like the idea of there's the difference between a chair and a bench, right?
Yeah.
And we know that is a real truth, even if we can't explain exactly how that
Yeah.
works.
And you can even discern some of the differences, right? Like a chair, by definition, is built to hold a single seater. Doesn't mean only one person could be in it. Somebody could be on the other person's lap, but only one person's occupying the seat.
Mhm.
Now, that has exceptions. What if two children sit in the seat? Well, that's not what we're judging because the chair wasn't built for a child, it was built for an adult. And this is where we get away from the ideal of it. But we know what defines the chair.
Yeah.
By design, one person sits in it. A bench needs to have more than one person able to sit in it by design.
Right. And so the thing is, and because we know this, like that exists as a thought element, right?
Yeah.
But like the idea that we can even that it has to be pinned down to something, I think is a conflict between our understanding of what the universe is, right? So
Yeah.
like an idea and a concept and a form can exist within your mind, and you can transmit it through speech to another person's mind because they have had a similar experience to yours, right? But that doesn't mean that the thing that you're talking about exists as an actual thing, entity within the universe, and not a concept.
Yeah, because all
that is simply
concepts
part
are
of the
real.
way that knowledge
doesn't
can
mean they're
be
tangible.
interpreted.
Yeah.
So there doesn't have to be, for there to be the ideal of a cow, it doesn't mean that there is somewhere floating in the ether the perfect cow. It just
Yeah,
means
it's
that
kind of like where it breaks down, and this is even the example that Aristotle uses. What is the form of a word? Because we know what is and isn't a word, but where do we actually hit the form of it?
Yeah. And that's one of the things, I mean, that conflict is one of the things that gets me so crazy about people that are like staunch materialists, right? That like only matter can exist. Everything you use to formulate that is something non-material.
Yeah. You do not actually interact directly with the material world. The physical form does in ways. I mean, you never actually touch anything once you get down to the very bones.
Yep.
But everything that your interaction with the world is some sensation that your mind is interpreting from said interactions. You don't directly interact with the material world.
And the material world doesn't, by and large, interact with each other either.
Yeah.
It's all energy. So.
Which at the end is just like differential equations, like the mathematics of things in the universe.
Yeah. So I mean, so when it comes to the idea that these concepts about what exists clearly are bigger and beyond what actually exists, because we're able to fold the world into our experience, which is once again part of the world.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like, because all things are real. That doesn't mean they physically or tangibly exist. That doesn't mean they're even necessarily interactable, but all things are real. If an idea exists, that idea is real, doesn't mean it's going to manifest.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Now, with the line of all of that, I want to point out that we tell only real stories in our comics. All of the stories are real. It doesn't mean they actually happened, but they're all real. Which is a line I shamelessly stole from Neil Gaiman. So
I don't only tell real stories.
What were you saying, Metal?
I said I don't only tell real stories. And that is a very, very hard line to dance.
Yeah, but they are real. because once you've told them they exist.
Oh, you think?
It's like
It's like a
the
magic
beginning
trick.
of the first. I think it's the first page. Actually, I think it's the first page of both issues of Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow by by Alan Moore. It's the last Silver Age Superman story. It was published in 1985, I think, and it gives the setup, right?
Yeah.
And it says, this is the last Superman story. This is the story of this great love and his great battle. This is how it all ends. It's an imaginary story, but aren't they all?
Yeah.
So,
But there are cases where there are false stories, right? And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
because you
false and
think-
real aren't mutually
No, no, no.
exclusive, though.
I'm saying false is not true into the sense of itself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, right. So there's stories that are illusions, which illusions aren't real. There's something real happening there, but the illusion itself is not real.
Well,
And
the
you
the
can
perception
figure out
of the illusion isn't
that
real.
the story is actually just an illusion for a real story underneath it.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Well, I think there's also stories that aren't real in a different sense.
Yeah.
Right. When you're talking about ones that aren't honest to their own premises. Right?
Yeah.
So, for example, the Matrix movies after the Matrix,
Yeah, from 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Actually, Animatrix it's pretty consistent to itself.
Yeah.
But the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions deny
Which I
some of the
enjoy them.
premises.
But yeah.
What'd you say?
I said I enjoy them, but I will fully agree with what you're saying here.
Yeah. They don't hold the premise of the first movie. Although, there's some stuff that's not terrible at it. And like the fight with the infinite number of Smiths was fun.
Yeah. I even kind of like the final Dragon Ball Z fight. I think there's entertaining parts to it.
Wait. In Matrix or Dragon Ball Z?
No, in the Matrix, like the final fight in the third one was kind of like a Dragon Ball Z fight going on with them going in the air and stuff like that.
That's true.
Though
Well,
I do
gentlemen-
believe by its own premise that Dragon Ball Z does exist in the Matrix. As an anime.
Well, yeah, it's set in
Yeah.
the late 90s, so like everything exists
Yeah.
in the Matrix.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, gents, I think I'm going to pull the plug. So we've
Pull
talked
it.
about projects
We're a flatline.
and everything, and I want supper.
Yeah.
All out.
Otherwise, you're just going to keep me in philosophy space.
Well, that was fun. That was a fun little rant. I enjoyed the hell out of that, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
It was good to listen to. I didn't get to participate in all of it because I had to disappear for a second. But
Yeah.
it was good. It was interesting.
Yeah, we didn't even get into when Diogenes, or Diogenes as they say now, comes in and throws poop into all of it.
Well,
In a
yeah,
very literal
That's-
sense.
yeah. That's a whole different. That's a
My
whole
wife's
different
getting
thing.
ready to do a philosophy class. I'm going to call you guys.
Well, what we ought to do is I actually have an opening on the show coming up here on the 18th. So if you want, Metal, we can actually have the politics and philosophy discussion.
Oh yeah, sure, anytime.
Speaking of the shows and stuff, that one guest I told you about, he said he would love to come on either one of these. So
Cool, man. Cool. So just send him my email or whatever.
okay,
Because you've got my email, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I just talk to you Facebook in person usually, but I might have
Yeah.
it.
So before we go, guys, just to let everybody know, Force of Good and Evil on Webtoons. New stuff launches on Friday. Z-Bytes is coming on. I'm working with Seven on a World War II era spy thriller. be a lot of fun stuff, plus monsters. So that's fun. And we've got we're putting blogs up on the website. We're rescuing them from the ether to tell old stories new over again, which is fun. And yeah, that's the thing. So check it out. If you want to follow us on Patreon, you get the first look as we're working on stuff. And that's how that all works out. We also have a Discord server. And you're free to check us out on that. We'll be making this thing look shiny coming up here. So yeah, that's the story. I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to read some comics and eat some supper. Probably not in that order. Because I just got Punchline today. 11.
Oh,
came to
nice.
Yes, I'm super stoked for that one. Anyway, have a good one, everybody. Metal, Chris.
Well,
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys later.
Check you all out
Chris in the chat,
later.
Angelo in the
Oh,
chat.
and this Thursday on my channel, Matthew D. Reese, I'm having Doug Tenaple, Nick Mueller, Matt Johnson, and Tonic Mole on to discuss making regional comics. So, little geography, little comics, little laughter. Later.
Yeah, I'll probably watch because I do that.
Yeah, it'll be a fun show, man.
Sounds like-
I'm excited for it. So, anyway, bye.